So just go with me here. The exact same investing scenario. Just put on your imagination caps and think through a scenario where someone is investing, they are exposed to maybe the stock market, it could be real estate, venture capitalism, whatever it is, but it has to be the exact same scenario. Once you've done that, let's look at the two teams that are playing in this scenario. Team A is experiencing this scenario, and what we see is doom and gloom, and they are freaking out. They head for the hills. I'm out of here. White flag is up. It's time to panic. It's time to retreat. That's team A. Now, let's think about team B. On the other hand, team B, exact same scenario, remember. Team B sees opportunity and team B commands results. Well, first question is, which team would you want to be on? I would definitely be picking team B because regardless of what the scenario is, I certainly want to be able to come out on top. But what is the difference in their behavior? What is actually causing or impacting the difference in their approach, the difference in, their outcomes? Well, the difference is at the root of their approach, and that difference is informing the results that they are getting. That difference is their mindset. Now, I know mindset often, depending on which circles you are in, mindset gets overused, but I want you to think about the mindset as that grounding, that foundation of how you're thinking, that is informing how you're behaving. That is your mindset, and that is actually where the difference is coming from, not just in what they're thinking, but how they're behaving, and as a result, the difference shows up in the results that they're getting. So specifically, I'd like for us to look at the wolf in sheep's clothing that is compromising your consistent financial results, not the one-offs. The one-offs are actually quite reactionary, and we'll talk about that a little bit through this episode. But I want you to kind of stare that wolf that's dressed like a sheep in the face, because it is compromising the results that you're getting. And that wolf is fear and anxiety that is masquerading as due diligence and thorough research. You can call it whatever you want. You can say that you're doing your due diligence. You can say that you're doing some research. You can say that you are, doing the best you can with what you've got. You can call it whatever you want to call it. The truth for many of us is that this is fear and anxiety. And there's an easy way for you to find out whether it is actually fear and anxiety. If you find yourself endlessly researching but not executing, you are trapped in analysis paralysis. You are the epitome of fear and anxiety masquerading as something great. If you are always researching but not taking action, you are trapped, and it's for you now to get out. Today on Catalyst Conversations, we are going to explore a tale of two financial mindsets and their impacts on the results that we experience. We are going to dismantle decision fatigue so we can actually deploy our financial assets with confidence, and not just plain old confidence, but calculated confidence that you can bet on. Yes, indeed. So let's dive in. So, our tale of two mindsets will be examining the accumulation mindset, where you are feeling or finding security in seeing capital sitting and waiting and just growing, just happy to work more, earn more, work more, earn more. And the opposing mindset, the team B mindset, is the wealth architect, where security is actually rooted in a vision for your life, a vision of your wealth, a vision of your impact. These two mindsets operate so differently, and we're going to dismantle them. We're going to expose them, let's say, by looking at how each mindset approaches three varying activities or three varying experiences along the wealth journey. We're going to start with the approach to volatility. Now, volatility really would refer to the ups and downs in any investing cycle. That volatility might be due to geopolitical pressure. It might be due to changing legislation. It might just be due to market corrections, and that is across the board. Whether you are investing in real estate, whether you're investing in, stock market, any investing vehicle will have some degree of volatility where the thing that worked before may not work, or there might be pressures that come in and adjust how you measure your returns, how high the returns are, whether or not you want to adjust exposures and so on. So let's look at how these two mindsets approach volatility. The accumulation mindset, remember, it manifests in the behavior where we find security in, having capital sit there and look pretty, and we are happy to just work and make more. Well, the accumulation mindset's approach to volatility is one that is very reactionary, and it is rooted in fear. So the accumulation mindset is going to stall. That fear, when the accumulation mindset experiences volatility, their default is to react with fear-driven stalls or even impulsive liquidations. They're like, I'm getting out. I'm getting out, sell everything, sell the house, liquidate, and let's get out. Or even they're going to decide to not get in. So they're going to stall. They're going to end up stuck. They're going to end up saying, yeah, you know what? I think we should wait. Let's not do anything. Let's just take a strategic pause. It's not strategic at all. It's actually very reactionary. And what happens when the accumulation mindset does that is you are letting short-term economic chatter hijack a long-term strategy. When we react that way, we are giving too much leeway for the short term to cause us to take actions that are going to negatively impact our long term. We are reacting instead of responding. The accumulation mindset lets fear be the driver, which is a big problem because fear is always going to do what it thinks it needs to do to protect you. Whereas in fact, what it's actually doing, it's delaying, it is compromising, it is neutralizing, and it is just nullifying so much of the progress that you've made. The accumulation mindset's first instinct is typically fear-driven, and the actions that follow are also going to manifest that fear is the one in control. How does the wealth architect mindset react to volatility? The wealth architect beautifully discerns that volatility is actually a strategic entry point. Now, I want to be clear here. We're not saying that you're going to jump in without consideration, without a strategy, without some sort of informed and calculated movement. No, that's not what we're saying. But the wealth architect understands that market volatility is usually a hotbed for opportunity. And that is when you discern, instead of the panic, fear-driven approach, you can stop and think, what is the strategic advantage? Where can I actually do something and find a way to leverage this volatility for the good of the overall wealth plan, as opposed to freaking out about what's happening here? When the wealth architect experiences volatility, they are able to deploy capital in a systematic way. And that systematic way is based on clear behavioral rules. Now, we're not talking about behavior as in, decorum. No, we're talking about the rules that you've put in place on how you will respond to volatility in the market. Those rules are going to say, okay, we are not going to do anything with our position unless we see maybe a 20 or 30% decline. If that happens, then we will do A, B, C, or X, Y, Z. We may liquidate only a small portion, or we may take a safety position in cash until A, B, C, X, Y, Z happens, and then we'll re-enter. The actions of the wealth architect are based on those rules that had been put in place before volatility hits. The rules were put in place because one, they were grounded in good sense, in solid strategy, in proven strategy, and those rules were put in place for the exact reason why we don't want to be that accumulation mindset person. Those rules were put in place so that emotions are not the leader. Yes, we get to feel it. If you don't remember, a few episodes ago, we talked about this. Yes, you acknowledge emotions, but emotions don't take the lead when it comes to the results part of your wealth journey. So the wealth architect is now deploying cash strategically and in accordance with what has been outlined as the action plan, not reacting, responding. And that is a big part of the difference. So, how do these mindsets approach overall wealth management? Let's be very, very clear here. Wealth management is not just looking at the numbers in your portfolio. There is more to it than just, opening the mail with your statement on a quarterly basis. There's more to it than that. So, the accumulation mindset, team A, will typically approach wealth management from a very hands-off position, or they're going to be a very all-in position. And both positions are actually quite problematic because of the way they approach it. You see, the person who is being led by an accumulation mindset approach to wealth management completely relinquishes control, or they decide nobody's telling me anything, I'm doing it all by myself. It sounds counterintuitive because it is. You see, on the one hand, they want to just give it up to someone else because they so distrust themselves. They have been so burned by activities in the market, by ways that, they've tried without a system, that now they think that they're the ones who can't or who shouldn't. And as a result, they completely relinquish control to generic managers without giving oversight or guidance. Now, that is a big problem because it's your wealth journey. You need to have taken the time to explore what you want from your journey so that you can inform the professionals that are supposed to be helping you. But instead, you have given over control to those who give generic advice, or AKA no advice at all. You sit there and you wait to be told what you should be doing, and then you just default to whatever that was. You give up that control and you end up with generic plans, generic options that do nothing to actually build the life that you want. And then you don't give oversight, you don't give direction. The flip side of the accumulation mindset is the other end of the spectrum, where you're going to hold on for dear life and then you burn yourself out trying to manage complex spreadsheets, complex strategies that you cannot fully understand, but you are determined that you're going to do it yourself, and you do so in isolation. Big, big problem, because isolation is a hotbed for not just burnout, but complete disaster in your wealth plan. Doing things without having the full spectrum of um, support that's really going to help you build what you want. So, the accumulation mindset really sets you at one of two extremes, and neither one is actually where you want to be sitting in your approach to managing your wealth. The wealth architect, on the other hand, does something that I just consider it beautiful. It's like a beautifully choreographed dance where you have various artists coming in and providing their beautiful, specialized movement into what's going to be a wonderful staged creation. You step in as the CEO of your wealth. The wealth architect is directing the piece. You are directing the dancers, the musicians, the lights. You're directing the props. You're directing all of those in order to create and deliver that masterpiece. You see, as the CEO of your wealth, you realize that in order to have the production of the caliber that you want, in order to create the life of wealth that you have envisioned, you realize that you can't do all the parts. You can't be all the dancers. You can't be running the lights. You can't be operating the stage. You can't be the one directing the music. And for some of us, we go so far as we want to write the music. We want to develop the choreography. We want to do all of that, but we can't. I used to say you can't do it not all at once, but the truth is you just can't. Not if you want to get the results. You're going to sit there and try to accumulate years and years and years of expertise before you deploy, before you take action. Well, no, the wealth architect, she is the CEO of her wealth, and she is directing her specialized team of professionals, her accountants, her lawyers, her advisors. And the beautiful thing is, you will direct them to execute your vision, your direction. What is it that you want? What is the outcome? It's your life. And you get to determine how you would like that to take shape. You get to determine the vibrancy of the life experiences that you have as you're going through. That does not mean that everything will happen all at once, but if you give consistent direction that is based in and rooted in your vision, if you're giving that direction to proven professionals who are well esteemed in their field, who have a track record of results, then you know that you will be the one driving your wealth journey, getting to your destination, and getting there in the style that you prefer. So, that vision is your responsibility to develop, nurture, grow, build, and fatten it up and, put some color and curves on these bones. And then you direct your team to make that happen. So that is how a wealth architect is going to manage and approach how she manages her wealth. And third and finally, we're going to look at compare and contrast the approach that each of these mindsets take to execution and systemization. You see, the accumulation mindset resists systemization on all fronts because they don't trust. They don't trust all manner of things, some of them for good reason, I'm not going to lie. But trust is at the root, or I should say, distrust is at the root of a lot of why the accumulation mindset resists systemization. Okay, so When we look at the accumulations mindset approach to execution, what happens when they finally get past the paralysis? They execute and then they second guess every transaction. They second guess every decision. They second guess every piece of data that comes out. They second guess and third guess and fourth guess. And then they end up in this spiral of, I guess, just convolution, which allows temporary emotional madness to derail execution entirely. Because what happens when we keep second guessing? We stall, we stop, we neutralize, we reverse. When we keep second guessing, we put our wealth experience at risk of whatever happens in the temporary space, and we end up making permanent damage to our wealth experiences. And our execution just goes out the door because, well, we're second guessing. It does make you wonder, if you're second guessing, what was the basis of the decision in the first place? And anytime I see people humming and hawing and second guessing decisions, I tend to think that the root of the initial decision was not strategic. It was probably not something based in, proven strategies or data or a solid knowledge base. Chances are that second guessing transactions is usually the result of emotional action in the first place. So hence why you're going to end up second guessing, because the emotional charge that was there when you were initiating the decision, it's gone. So now you're going to second guess because now you're feeling something different. You're seeing something different. And now a whole other set of emotional turbulence is coming around, creating that hamster wheel of negative juju that's just messing with all of what you're doing in your wealth management experiences. No wonder your execution is getting derailed. Things are not getting done. You are not getting results. On the other hand, the wealth architect creates a system that oversees the entire wealth ecosystem. We're not going to go into the minutiae of individual 1111. Oh, why did this debit? Why did this credit? 1111. No, because you're a CEO, you have people who are going to do that minutiae examination and taking a look at these individual transactions. For you, as the CEO of your wealth, you are going to systematize your entire wealth ecosystem, which allows you to free some mental and emotional bandwidth so you can do some strategic thinking. That is where it really sits. Strategic thinking, not reactions, not just, banging stuff out because of how you happen to be feeling or what the headlines may be yelling at us every day, oh my goodness, day in and day out. We want to use the approach of a strategist as opposed to someone who is reactive. The wealth architect saves her mental and emotional bandwidth, thereby creating an atmosphere where she can creatively resolve any challenges that may coming at her, where she can creatively liaise with her professionals to find those and implement for the results that she wants. Strategic thinking. So as you are examining your approach to these various elements of your wealth journey, ask yourself, are you the accumulation earner? Are you in that side in team A where you're finding that your actions are reactionary instead of being responsive? Are you the one who is freaking out about everything and turning temporary hiccups into long-term mess ups? Are you the one who is just, impulsive instead of strategic? Are you the one who's trying to do it all yourself or relinquishing control entirely? Or are you strategically directing your professionals to put together and bring to life your vision? You see, we've gotten so used to that underlying hum of financial fear and financial anxiety that we have actually become unaware of how it is eroding the results that we could be experiencing in our wealth. We have become unaware of the stranglehold that fear and anxiety is holding over us, which is preventing us from taking the actions that we need to take in order to get the results that we so desperately desire and, to be honest, we deserve. But I want you to know this: results come from taking action. No matter how long you sit and analyze, how long you sit and think through things, results are not going to come, not until you take action. If you are stuck, you need to take action, and not just any action. We want to take action that is rooted in strategic alignment, not in reactivity. So we have to think ahead. We have to think through. And once we're done thinking, we need to take action, not react, but respond. Commanding consistent results, that actually requires you to step out of that reactive earner position. You need to start breaking the reactive earner habits and take full leadership. Step into your role as the CEO of your wealth. So if you're earning really well, those six figures are great. And if you're ready for that high altitude partnership to overhaul your wealth, I invite you to apply for a fit assessment. And that fit assessment will help us to kind of see whether you are actually ready for wealth on your terms. Because, like L'Oreal says, you're worth it after all. Apply today for a fit assessment. Take that time, invest that 30 minutes in exploring your wealth and what you are worth by visiting my website, hadrianaleo.com. Well, that's it for today's episode of Catalyst Conversation. Thanks so much for joining me. Until next time, take care.